Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm here with part two with Ina PInkney, polio survivor. She corrected me yesterday. She is a polio survivor and it never goes away. But in part one, she told us all about contracting polio, how she was diagnosed, how she was treated as a child, and it was tough. It was a tough call. And then she wrote a letter to herself as a 6-year-old child, which was extremely eye-opening. So Ina, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back and share more of the story. And you will now be the keeper of the Ina PInkney archive.
Well, we're glad to have you on. What's your IQ? What's your impact quotient? So thank you for being here again today. And part two, I just want to find out. Okay, so we talked about 6 years old, and we talked about sitting around with adults and listening to their conversations. What happened after that? Your growing up years, and after your diagnosis, the teenage years, and then your early adult life. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I was always the kid who ate lunch alone. I was the one sitting at a table and nobody came to sit with me. In those days, we were crippled. And so I was the crippled girl. And that stayed in the ethos until well after high school. That was really a part of my identity. Not that I chose it, it landed on me. And so I was the one who always ate alone. I was the one in the yard when we were waiting to go up to the classroom. They would have a jump rope, and I would call steady ender. That means I was the one who was going to turn it all the time because there was no way that I could jump rope. And so I felt I had some power by saying steady ender, meaning I would always be the one to turn the rope. And so I had a place in there. I also had a place that if a bunch of kids in our apartment building said, let's go to the playground on a day off, I would say, why don't we meet there after lunch? And then they would say, okay. And that way I could leave early and I could get there. And then I would be there while anything was happening. Of course, they left to go home immediately, and I took forever to get home. But I still had this sense of being in something, even though I didn't belong and even though I wasn't welcomed very readily. I needed to understand the socialization going on around me. And so that was really an unusual part of my life. I spent a lot of time alone as well. And from a young age, if my mom sat me down at a table, um, and she was taking care of my brother, newborn at the time. This is when I was younger, and my grandpa was living with us, and he was sick. Um, I knew that I had to have everything in front of me that I needed for a couple of hours. I didn't know when I would be invited to join the family again because she was busy with Brian and my grandpa. And so I had this visualization of everything I needed. I had my books, I had my coloring books, I had my crayons. Later on, I was making pot holders with a loom, so I had the loops with me. I had everything that I needed. And that was a skill set that I didn't know I would need as an adult. And when I go to do a cooking demonstration on television or in a big event, I don't forget even a teaspoon of salt because I have already envisioned everything. I do it. I'm going to pick that bowl up. I'm going to put the flour in there. Then I'm going to put the baking soda or the baking powder. Then I'm going to take the spoon and I'm going to do everything has been done already. So I am a super planner. I'm not OCD, thank goodness. But if you say to me, Ina, I'd like to meet you at XYZ restaurant for lunch tomorrow, and I don't know the navigation, I will do a drive-by the day before so that I have a visualization of what it is. Maybe you didn't even know there were 2 steps up at the front door of that restaurant and it's not accessible and I need my scooter. So I always am ready. I'm ready. If I have superpowers, and I think I do, one of them is listening. Another one is remembering what I learned. And another one is fearlessness. I am never reckless, but I am fearless. And sometimes if I go to a new place and I'm ready to walk into a room and I don't quite know what's going to be in there, could be an event of some kind or a reading or something like that. I get to the threshold and I stop for a second and I take a deep breath. And when I cross the threshold, I know I own that room. I never doubt it for a second, but I get myself ready and then I move on. That's another one of my superpowers. So, so elementary school was very, very, very challenging. It was an old building in Brooklyn, New York, a few blocks away from our home, our apartment building. And I had a love-hate relationship with fire drills because when the bell rang for the fire drill, everybody has to go out in the street and you have to wait and then you have to come back. I was absolved from that. I never had to go down the steps. Sometimes I was on the third floor or maybe the fourth floor of the building and it was all walk up in those days. And so they would just say, you stay. And so here I was grateful that I don't have to do that and unbearably sad that I can't do that and that the other kids really hated me for getting away with it. And it was the same thing with going up to the class early. Before the bell rang, we were all outside. If it was a nice day, the bell rang and then you went up to your classroom. I could go up early so that I couldn't get jostled around on the steps leading up to the classroom. So I had a love-hate relationship with all of these things that I needed, but that I couldn't do. And therefore I was bullied about that. Oh, she doesn't have to go out. She doesn't have to go out. So elementary school, I knew that in the classroom, I was the envy of the kids because I was smart. But in the playground, I was prey. They would take my books, they would toss them around, they would do everything they could to destabilize me, everything. And I would have to stand there. I couldn't run after them. I would have to stand there and hope that there was somebody who had a change of heart and would bring the books back to me. And it usually happened. There's always a human being in the group somewhere, hidden away. After they join, the rowdy ones, they do come back. Junior high school, I began to understand that there were girls who were very popular, who looked a certain way, and I was never going to fit in with those girls, the popular girls. And then and we didn't have the word then, but the nerdy girls would sit over there, and again, I would be sitting alone. I would be sitting alone. And I tried to watch the social cues. How did those popular girls figure it out, with the boys and the flirting and this? I had no clue. No clue. High school was very much the same. In all 4 years of high school, I was invited out on 2 dates. Wow. And they stood me up, both of them. I was the crippled girl. I was the joke. I was the joke. And I did not know how to respond to any of this. And so I became funny. I became kind of the clown in the thing. I was a smart ass. I had a smart mouth. And as a result, I did not pass the Regents exam, which you needed to pass a New York State exam in high school to graduate on time, which was for my family such a terrible, terrible thing. And for me too, everybody's graduating and I'm sitting home. And I understood the mistakes that I had made in trying to get attention to me because I was funny, I was clever, I was smart, but I then didn't pay any attention to anything. And so it was really, I couldn't figure out my life at all. I had no way of knowing. College, I can remember minutes of it, but nothing more. I couldn't find my place. I had no idea who I was, what I was thinking. There was no way. I mean, it's so hard to describe to people that I had a lot going for me in terms of my intellect and my curiosity, and nothing sparked, nothing. I really thought for a long time that I wanted to be a doctor. And so I started to really pay attention in college, thinking this, how I'm going to get into pre-med. And I had some pre-med classes. And then I did a search and I couldn't find a medical school that would take a disabled student.
Oh, wow.
And then I thought, I don't even know who I am and what I'm going to be. And so I was nothing. I had a BA in English, which got you nothing. It really got you nothing. And so I had jobs, and I think I mentioned to you, I had 21 jobs in my life and I got fired from 19 of them. Some of them because I ran my department like it was my own business. And so everybody was happy and productive and I could not fit the corporate culture. What do you mean you did it that way? That's not the way we do it. Well, that's the way it works over here. Well, I'm so sorry. You don't fit. You don't fit. So there was a lot of confusion in me. And then the more I got fired, the more I took it as a badge of honor. And I didn't know what else to do with it. The other thing that I discovered about myself is that I was able to camouflage my disability pretty well as I was going into young adulthood after high school, maybe into college. And now we have been told that the people that had a very good recovery from polio, my paralysis left, my leg was working as well as it could work. I did have a dropped foot, but there were people who did not know that I had a limp until I walked down the aisle and they saw me walking alone. Because if I was walking with you, I had figured out a way of camouflaging it so my shoulder wouldn't drop at all. I would be just walking along with you and you would have no idea how hard it was for me to organize that and get it to a point where you wouldn't know. And I was such a bad girl in so many ways. So at the beginning of every school year, they would take our height and our weight. And every year I would stand only on my left foot. And
Brilliant.
then in June,
I think that's brilliant.
and then June, they would take our height and our weight. And I would stand on my right foot. And which means that I shrank 3 inches over the course of the year. That was my little screw you. So there is one thing that I cannot figure out to this day. Now, I tried out for a play in high school, and I got the lead in the senior class play, which was the Solid Gold Cadillac, which Judy Holliday, somebody like did that on the movies. And I got the lead and I was good in that. And what gave me the courage to walk across the stage? I have no idea. I have no idea. I've been going back over this now that I knew I was going to talk to you and bringing out a memory. I don't know what possessed me to try out. And I don't know what possessed me to say yes. I knew I would have to walk in front of 100 and 200 people. I don't know where I got the courage for that. I think I wanted the play more than I cared about what they thought. That's all I can think of. So camouflage was interesting. There was one moment, I think in junior high school, maybe high school, one teacher had decided, and I don't know what the lesson was supposed to be. We all had to put our head down well into our arms on our desk. And she would walk around the room and she would touch somebody's shoulder. And then she would keep moving. And then she got to the front of the room and the person she had touched had to get up quietly and walk. And people had to figure out who it was by the walk. And all I could think of was, don't pick me. Please don't pick me. Don't pick me. Don't pick me. And the bitch picked me. And so every hand went up immediately because they knew who was walking. So those were the kinds of microaggressions that I felt were coming at me. And I'm sure everybody who's a survivor felt the same way.
Wow.
So a friend of mine is a counselor at a camp, and I remember going to camp and hating every second of it. No accommodations when we went on a walk. We had to wear our rubber boots over our shoes, and it was rubbing the heel out, and I had surgery in the back of my heel, and so the incision was being rubbed out, and I'm walking, and there's nobody to talk to, there's nobody to tell. I'm just in those rain boots, you know, walking through. And it was like that. It was like that. I mean, they wanted me to be part of everything. I couldn't be part of everything. I just couldn't. So it was a very challenging time. And I don't know when that part really ended for me. You know, I think I, when I, and I don't even know when that is. I mean, I grew up one day and I went, why am I tolerating this? And so I think it probably happened about the shoes. My mother would never buy me two pair. I needed a 6 and an 8. And she said, it'll look funny. And so she got me the 8. And then we put the insoles in on the 6 till we could get it to feel okay. And even when I left home and I got married, I still did the same thing. And I don't, to this day, I don't know why, except that it was so drilled in me. My whole life, it was so drilled in me that it would look funny. Well, who cares, you know? And then I bought a pair of shoes that I loved so much. They were beige, beautiful, soft leather, brown suede, kind of a little bit of a bottom lift thing. They were gorgeous. Charles Jourdan shoes. Oh my God, I was in love. And I bring the right shoe to the shoemaker around the corner. And I say to him, can you just put some elastic in the back of the heel underneath the leather, just in the back, so it'll hold on to my heel better? That's all. Just I'll put the other stuff in the front, but I need it to hold on to the heel. And so he said, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I go back and I get it. And he had taken some horrible gray elastic and he just did zig and zag across the shoe and ruined the whole back of it, this gorgeous leather. And then I just kept looking at it. And I left and I came home and I bumped into a neighbor in the lobby of our building. And she said to me, boy, you look upset. And I said, look at this and look what he did. And I told him, and look what he did and look what he did. And she said to me, so why don't you buy two pair?
Wow, what
Oh my.
revelation.
And Bill came home and I showed him the shoe and he said to me, oh, I think you should go get the other pair. And I went downtown and I bought the size 6 and I put them on when I came home with the 8 and I walked around the apartment and it was though I was reborn. I had no idea I could do that. No idea. And then shoes became the thing. And then I discovered one day I had 17 pair of shoes and 3 pair of boots that were the opposite sizes for me, but I couldn't get rid of them. They were in my closet. These were the odds, the other ones, right? And so Bill is sitting in the lobby of our building one day and a woman came in and she went to the doorman and then she walked over to sit where Bill was sitting. He was waiting for somebody to show up. And he said, please forgive me. I don't mean to be rude, but my wife walks exactly the same way you do. Did you have polio? And she said, yes. And he said, what size shoes do you wear? And she says, I wear an 8 and a 6. And he said, 8 on the right, 6 on the left. And she said, yes. He said, can I have your phone number? My wife has a present for you. And she came over to my house and I gave her 17 pair of shoes and 3 pair of boots, the odd ones that I couldn't wear, but I could not get rid of them. I knew one day I would find somebody. And then when we would go shopping, we would sit there, we'd figure out a pair of shoes we both liked. And then I'd say to the guy, we need a 6 and an 8. And he would come over and he would take out the size 6. And I would say, I'll take the right. She said, I'll take the left. And if they got it, they were hysterical and loved it. If they didn't get it, they were like, what is she doing? Anyway, that was the thing. The other thing with shoes is that I finally amassed wonderful, wonderful shoes, wonderful shoes. And by the way, for anybody listening, if you need split sizes, Nordstrom's does it for just the price of 1 pair.
Oh, that's good to know.
And that's because the original Mr. Nordstrom's wife had polio. And so he always, Nordstrom's, you can buy 2 sizes and they'll fit them together. And that's it. So I now have all these incredible shoes in my closet. I can't be happier. I'm in heaven. And then I can't wear them anymore because I had to get a leg brace. And remember, the brace wouldn't fit in the size 6 anymore. It was too big. The shoe was too small. The brace was too big. So I have all these shoes. And then I finally get 1 pair that I can wear and they're ugly. And they're ugly. They're just ugly. and I hate them, and I wear them every day of my life. And when they wear out and I get them I go online, buy the same thing, and they send them to me. And so I had all these shoes in the closet. And I didn't know what to do with all these pairs of shoes because they were the one size. You know, they were perfect. It was perfect. And then I get a call. I see something that these children are raising money by getting shoes and blah, blah, blah. And I can't remember all the details, but I took a picture of every pair of shoes that I loved so much, every pair. And then I could give the shoes away because I had pictures of them. So I'm at a film festival in St. Louis, and I'm waiting there, and they introduced me to the co-chairs of the film festival. And then we go in and watch the movie, and I come out, I talk to the people before and after the movie, and I have my books, and I'm doing a book signing. And they had introduced me to the one guy who was a co-chair, and he seemed a little goofy. Very tall, handsome, gray-haired man, originally from South Africa. And we're chatting, but he seemed a little goofy, but nice. And then at the end of all of the book sales and everything else, the woman who was my handler, who was taking me all around, she said, Ina, I'll take you back to the hotel and then I'll come back and pick you up for dinner. And I said, so-and-so, you have been over and above. I don't want you to drive 30 miles home and then come back to get me. Let me just think this through a little bit. And Mr. Goofy Guy says, you know what? How about we just go downstairs? There's a Mexican restaurant. We can have some appetizers, and then I'll take you back to the hotel, and then you can just rest for the rest of the evening. And I went thinking, do I want to be with Goofy Guy? Absolutely. Absolutely nice man. I can do this, and then let this other lady go home. I say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And everything gets cleared up, and he and I go downstairs, and we're sitting. And it's very easy now that he saw the movie. He thinks he knows me, which is great. I can just say, how did you wind up in St. Louis from South Africa? And he tells me the whole story, and it's very interesting. And he winds up in Argentina, and he's working for a company that supplies private label shoes to department stores because of all the leather. It's all the cattle country there, and all the leather originally was coming from either Argentina or Italy in those days. And I said, oh, shoes. Oh my God, shoes. And I tell him the story, and he said, let me see the picture of those shoes. And I went, yes. And I take out my phone, and I said, now these. He goes, and everyone, he's scrolling. Ina, these are gorgeous. These patent leather, they're gorgeous. Look at the side on this. Look at this. Look at this. Next one. Oh my God, these are gorgeous. And he gets to one pair, and he goes, where did you buy these? And I said, those are the most expensive shoes I ever bought in my entire life, but I had to have them. And they were from Henry Bendel in New York. And they were woven leather, and they were gorgeous. And he looks at them again, and he takes the picture and he holds it to his heart. And he said, I made those shoes.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And if I had said no to Goofy Guy, I would not have had that story. I said, these shoes, I can't even tell you what they meant to me. And he said, well, they were breathtaking. They're woven leather fronts, beautiful leather in the back, gorgeous. Ina, I made your shoes. So I've had these experiences in my life that have been quite remarkable.
Not coincidences. None of them were coincidences.
No, I said yes. In that nanosecond, I thought, Goofy Guy, yes. And he was a little goofy and perfect. He was odd and delicious. And delicious. And he made my shoes. The most dear things to me, my shoes.
I mean, what a story.
I miss having shoes. I really do.
Yeah, I understand because I'm a shoe nut too. I mean, I really am. And I've had to change some things about my shoes too. As we mature, you have to do some different things with your shoes. But boy,
I'll
what?
tell you one Bill story about. I
Yeah.
put it in my one of my videos that I did about Bill, who, as I said in my little video memoir that people pay for on Substack, I said that Bill got my disability more than I did most of the time. He really was extraordinary. I needed some shoes. We go to Saks Fifth Avenue in New York. I see a pair of shoes that look like kind of Gucci knockoff with the little metal thing and the gorgeous gray suede, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And I finally made them with all the insoles. This is before I knew how to do the other thing. And so I'm putting all this stuff in the shoe, and I put my foot in, and I can get a feel for it. And he said, what do you think? And I said, let me walk a little bit. And I walk a little bit. I came back. I changed some of the interior foam rubber things that were inside. And then I go, oh, this is better. And I'm walking around. And he said to me, are they going to be okay? I said, I think so. And he said, do me a favor. You've been on the carpeting. Go over there by the tile. I want to be sure that you're walking on different surfaces and that you still feel secure on the other surface. And I take a walk, and there's those little low mirrors that they used to have. And I'm looking, I'm going, oh my God, I love these shoes so much. And I'm just looking at those shoes and my feet, and I walk all the way around the shoe department on the tile. And I came back and I said, I think they're perfect. And he said, I know they are. I just bought them for you in every color.
Oh, what a guy. Wow, what a man. That's amazing. We're going to talk more on the part 3 about Bill and your marriage and your adult life. But wow, what a story. I just wonder, because I heard you mention fearless. I heard you mentioned all your character traits. And sometimes you have to wonder, are those character traits were they developed because of that you had polio for survival reasons, or were they inborn, do you think?
I think when we go back
Both.
to our part 1 of all this, and I talk about my father, I think it was because of him. He was sure I could do anything. He was sure. I didn't even know what that meant, but he was sure that I could figure things out and that I would be fine.
Boy, what a blessing. What a blessing your father was. How about that? What would he
Mhm.
say about you now? If he were alive, what would he say now?
My best guess is that he would have that delicious laugh when I had accomplished something amazing, and that I am part of the post polio syndrome advocacy group, and I meet with people all over the world. He would be over the moon that I found this mission and this other place in my life. I mean, he came to my restaurant when I first opened it, and his eyes were like saucers. He was like this the whole time. He goes, you did this? I said, I did this. And I'm telling you, after 21 jobs and getting fired from 19 of them, and there I am,
Wow,
Miss Big Shot restaurant owner. He just loved it.
wow. That's really something. What a blessing he was to you. I
Yeah.
mean, I think about too, you're talking about your school days, and those of us that are not, that we're not polio survivors or needing a wheelchair or needing, or had disabilities in that way, physical disabilities, we take things for granted. I don't remember anyone in my school that was in a wheelchair or that had, and I was in a school too, elementary school, that you walk up the steps to get to the upper grades. And I don't remember one soul being that way, or if they were, I just don't remember it, and I think I would have.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
what we just take things for granted, and I mentioned it yesterday, and I'll say it again. Educators, 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 listen to this. What you say to your students, what you provide them, is powerful. And so, I mean, I wish that I had done more of this, and I wish that educators would do more. Someone that's different, and I think they're more mindful of that now. But people that are different, children that are different, they have a gift too. Just because they're different doesn't mean they have a gift. So
I don't remember the name of that teacher who tapped me and made me walk, but in my heart, I can't forgive her. I mean, she knew I had a very unusual gait that would be identifiable to everybody in 2 steps. How could she do that to me?
yeah, that
Did
was
she
pretty.
think she was including me? No, she couldn't have, unless she was that stupid.
Well, and some people are. I mean, some people think one way and they mean something one way and it's taken differently. And I got that too. I got that too. But I understand where you're coming from. Not to be included on the playground, not to be included. You had to make your way to be included in things that you were included in. And then I think about those boys that ask you for a date and didn't show
Stood
up.
me up.
I
2
mean,
dates.
what
That's what I mean,
a
that I didn't even know what the social cues were. I couldn't spot it. You know, they asked me out on a date and my father was excited. My mother was excited. I was all dressed.
what is what a tragic time in your life. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it was tragic.
very,
My God.
very, 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 very.
Wow, amazing, amazing. There again, we don't realize when we don't have, and I didn't have children that had physical disabilities, and I myself did not have physical disabilities. I'm not saying I didn't have some other issues like everyone else. Everybody's got an issue, but and
Absolutely.
so we need to remember that too. You don't know what people.
Because you can't see them doesn't mean they don't exist.
That's exactly right. And we don't know what people are going through. We
No,
just don't know what people are going through, where they're going through it, and that type of thing.
right,
We need to be mindful of that.
right.
Anna, as typical as always, you are a delight.
Thank you so much. I jumped all around, but every time I would say something, it reminded me of something else. And then how could I not tell you about the goofy guy in my shoes?
I know, and I'd not heard that before. The goofy guy. Um,
Oh,
you know, it's amazing. Your stories are always so captivating and
thank you.
interesting. So any story that you got, we're here. I'm here to listen. No worries, no worries. But folks, make sure that you tune in next time. This is just part 2 of Ina. There's more to Ina that you don't know yet, and we're going to be talking about her adult life and her. She gave you a clue: restaurant, her movie, how that came about, her husband, that was an extraordinary guy himself. We're going to be talking a lot more about the adult life, Ina, and all the things that you did accomplish as an adult too.
Let's give everybody a little bit of homework. You know, they should watch Breakfast at Ina's on Amazon Video, and they get to see my restaurant.
Do you hear that, folks out there?
Right. And you might have to rent it for $2.99, but I don't get the money. The director does, and she deserves it. So it might be because it's
If,
been on for a long time, but it's worth watching because then you sort of meet me in the middle of where things are. You get to see a little of the polio and my original medical records, which I have on there. And then the food that we served and the people that we took care of. And that was lovely. And then the other thing is in the New York Times, if you just go online and Google the perfect divorce, you'll get a great article about me and Bill that they put in their Sunday paper one year.
absolutely, absolutely. That's a fascinating story too, but your storytelling skills are just fascinating. So she's got a lot of more stories to share with us next time, and I sure do look forward to it. I mean, there may be part 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know. You never
I
know.
better get out there and live a little more life.
I'm telling you, Anna. Thank you again so much. What a pleasure.
Thank you,
What a
everybody.
gift you are to me and anyone who knows you. So I'll see you next time.
Next time.
Thanks everybody for tuning in to What's Your IQ? And oh gosh, I forgot to ask you the impact. The impact, and we sort of discussed it. What was the impact of what you went through as a child? That was my leading question that I should have asked you. Your impact that happened to you as a child with all those things that happened that
Well, I think what I said was that I figured out how to be in the world, and I figured out how to do that all by myself because I didn't have any adults who would understand what was in my own head, and just sitting and listening, and then planning what's around me. Remember, I said I just, and my impact was that I showed up. I didn't hide myself away. I was going to be there when they were doing jump rope, even if I couldn't do that. I was always going to be there. You had to see me. You had to see me. I think that was my impact.
I think so too. And what a lesson to everyone. Show up.
Show up.
Show up and do your best. Now I'm going to tell everybody goodbye, Anna. And I will see you next time. Thanks a lot,
Yes.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.